Hi, welcome back to the guest list. I'm joined today by Jackie and Anna. Jackie and Anna got married recently at the Floating Pavilion. Welcome, Jackie and Anna. Thank you for joining me. Now, fabulous story, because you guys, for as far as I know, are the only couple here in New Zealand who have been married 3 times to each other, but have never been divorced. Tell the viewers, how is that possible?
I guess it's a pretty unusual story. We met about 16 years ago, and about 10 years ago decided to get married in Canada. So at that stage marriage was legal for same-sex couples in Canada, but not in New Zealand. So we decided to travel over to Canada and get married there. Then when the law changed in New Zealand last year, we decided we wanted to get married again. As part of the process of doing that, our celebrant checked with births, deaths and marriages and found out that our Canadian marriage was already recognised in New Zealand. So under New Zealand law, we were already married. So if we wanted to marry again, it meant we had to change to a civil union and then change our civil union to a marriage. So that's what we did.
Now, you guys actually had quite a big part to play in the changing of the law here in New Zealand, so that same-sex couples can now enjoy the same rights that every other couple can have. Tell us about that.
We did. One of the things I guess that was really important to us was same-sex marriage. I mean, for obvious reasons for ourselves personally. Plus we think it's a really important step forward towards equality. So we decided that when the campaign started, so when the bill, Lewis of Wall's bill, got pulled out of the parliamentary box to be voted on, we decided that we wanted to get involved in the campaign. So we did things like postcards, set up a website and lobbied politicians. And we're very delighted, of course, when the law changed.
That is fantastic. Jackie, I know you are originally from Australia.
I am indeed.
We don't hold that against you at all. At all.
Why, thank you.
And we love it that you're now a New Zealander. But I was chatting to you off camera a few days ago, and you were saying that you're now actually going to get involved in helping Australians hopefully get their laws changed as well.
Yeah, we think it's something that we'd really like to see happen. We always said as a couple that, you know, after we got married in Canada, that whichever of our 2 countries allowed us to get married first, we'd do the big family celebration there. So we've done that in New Zealand now, but for us it's still important to see the law change in Australia. So I'd like to look at how we can get involved in the campaign. Got lots of friends in Australia, so we'll start harassing them to do things.
I think we have been for a while.
We have been for a while, it's true.
So once all the legalities were sorted out and you knew that you could actually progress with your wedding and the plannings, how did all of that sort of start, and then you could go ahead getting your wedding sorted out at the Floating Pavilion?
Okay. The first step for us was choosing a venue, and we sort of had 2 sets of venues in mind out in the country. So we live out in West Auckland, and you know, there's a lot of really beautiful venues out that way. So we thought about that, and we also thought about getting married somewhere on the water because it's something that we really both love. So we checked out, I think, about half a dozen venues, and then settled on the Floating Pavilion. We really love the location, we love dealing with you, and we just liked the whole sort of package that was offered, so we decided to go with the Floating Pavilion. The date was really important to us, so we got married on the 6th of May in Canada in 2004. So we wanted to have the date that was as close as possible to our 10-year wedding anniversary. And so the Saturday was as close as possible. I thought we should go for the 6th of May, which would have been, what, a Tuesday?
Tuesday.
But Anna said that was somewhat unreasonable, so we stuck with the closest Saturday.
I was more worried about my hangover.
She's always the voice of reason. I've come to know that.
So once we picked the date and picked the venue, then it was a matter of pick the celebrant. So we chose Chris Mullane, and who's done a lot of same-sex civil unions and same-sex marriages. We wanted to work with people who had either worked with same-sex couples before or were really comfortable working with same-sex couples. And so chose Chris, and then sort of started putting everything together from there.
Yeah.
And you had everything planned at one venue, so at the Floating Pavilion you had your ceremony and your reception?
We did indeed. We didn't like the idea really of going and having a ceremony, disappearing for a couple of hours, coming back when our guests had been left alone unsupervised for 2 hours with alcohol, and then having dinner. And we really liked the location of the Floating Pavilion, so it meant we had a good opportunity to take some great photos there. So we basically structured the day, and of course it was May too, so we had to worry about, you know, light for photographs, etc. So we structured it so that we would do our photographs, or nearly all our photographs, in the morning, and then from there we'd go to the ceremony at around about 3:45, and then from there have a few more photos with family and friends, and then from there just go straight to canapes and then later on to dinner. It worked really well. So.
And as you mentioned, although you live out in West Auckland, but you actually got ready at a hotel quite close to the pavilion, which I think was great because then you were all central and you didn't have great travelling distances to get to the venue.
No, we actually walked from the hotel, so we stayed at the Seawall, so it was perfect. And so we had our wedding party staying close by as well. Most of them were there. So we all got ready there and then just walked down.
I think that was a great call, good move on your part. And I think it was just a nice added element to your whole day. As I saw you come walking through down to your ceremony, I think it was just it was a lovely touch to the whole day.
Yeah, we were really pleased we did it that way. It meant we didn't have to worry about traffic, didn't have to worry about hiring a car. We could just walk there. I think we got some great photographs on the way, on the walk there as well, so it just worked really well.
Oh, it was very, very cool. Let's talk about your decor and your theming of your...
The theme. What was the theme, Jack?
Yes.
All right, let's talk about your colour scheme.
Well, essentially, I seem to recall that one of the first questions you asked us, in fact, was what was our colour scheme going to be? And we looked at each other a little bit bewildered. And then you took what you thought was going to be the easy question, which was, what are your favourite colours? And I think our response was, are grey and black acceptable? And you said no. So we went from there. So luckily we had a really good person designing our invitations for us, and she designed all the stuff that went on the tables as well. So that was Sandra from Gorgeous Creative. And she came up with a few mood boards with different colours, different font types, all that sort of stuff. And then from there we picked the ones that really appealed to us, and that sort of drove our colour theme from there. Yeah. So we went for a sort of sage green and I guess you'd call it lemony yellow.
Yeah. And it actually ended up being beautiful.
It was stunning. We were so impressed.
Really good.
Yeah.
So for two people who are not that creative, you came up with a stunning colour palette.
I think what we did was we chose a really good designer and then she came up with a stunning colour palette.
Good work, girls. Great work from that point of view. All right, let's talk about some of the highlights of the wedding, other than the two of you getting married, obviously. You had a candy station, you had a photo booth. Let's talk about those.
People loved the candy station. It was a great idea. It was your idea. It was a great idea. People loved it. There was a little bit of a stampede at one stage. I think our MC said that there was a candy station and people should feel free to go and grab candy during the course of the evening. And about 15 seconds later, there was a queue at the candy station. Good. And people just loved it. Good. Yeah, there's a lot of photographs that our friends took of each other, sort of stealing various, bottles of candy, etc. The giant jar of Jaffas. So people did love it, and we thought also it was a good opportunity just to provide a little takeaway, something for people. Yeah. We took the jars that people were going to put their candy in and used those to put their place names around, so it was their place names on the tables as well.
So it doubled up as your favour as well, which was great.
It tied in really well.
Yeah, that was really nice. And your photo booth, that was a big hit too.
Yeah, and we timed it after everybody had sort of had a few drinks, everybody loosened up a little bit, and again when the curtain opened on the photo booth, just a stampede to get there, and there were dress-ups, which I didn't realise was going to happen, and the album's fantastic.
Oh, good. So that's a great keepsake that you've got.
Yeah. And it's fantastic too, because we got it the day that we picked up everything from the venue, so it was fantastic. It was there. We've been able to look at it several times since. Yeah. People got to write messages for us. Yeah, it was excellent.
That's quite nice in as much as instead of just a traditional style of guest book with just some messages, you've actually got a visual reference as well with all these funny photos and that sort of thing.
And they got to take the strips away for themselves as well. So even that night up on Facebook, and there were just hilarious photos and everybody having a really good time.
In fact, some of our friends still have their photo strips as their Facebook pictures. So.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It's still coming through. It's really lovely.
All right, Jackie. What are some of your highlights from the day?
There's a number, obviously. I think getting through the first dance so that we could stop being nervous was great. But I think the thing I remember most actually is probably two things. One was before the day actually, was when we walked in the night beforehand to do the rehearsal and the room had all been set up, and just how amazing it looked. Because not being particularly creative, I don't have a good, I guess, imagination for how things are going to look. So I was blown away by how amazing it all looked. I was really pleased with that. And another one was when we walked into the ceremony and just sort of seeing all our friends and family there and the sort of huge round of applause they gave us and stuff. It was
we got a huge cheer.
Really amazing event.
Anna, for you, what were some of your highlights?
Probably getting to the top of that gangplank and just looking at everybody and just the huge cheer and overwhelming emotions. Just that everyone was there and able to share in it. It It was awesome.
It must have been quite different from your first wedding when it was just the two of you.
It was literally just the two of us.
Two witnesses, the celebrant
Yeah.
and her daughter as the photographer. So yeah, completely different.
And then now you were surrounded by all your friends and family. So
Yeah.
I can imagine how that must have been quite overwhelming for you. So that's
It was wonderful. It was exactly the wedding we'd always wanted, basically. It was the wedding we always would have had if we'd been able to get married 10 years ago.
And the weather cooperated. The weather
Oh,
was
we were so
perfect.
lucky.
So we could do
Yeah.
the ceremony upstairs as well. And yeah, so the whole weekend tied in. It was fantastic. So many people came from overseas and yeah, lovely.
I think that was another one of my highlights, actually, was how many of our friends came from overseas. We had people who literally travelled halfway across the world to come to our wedding.
Yep.
And that was amazing.
Yeah.
I've got lots of friends we've both got lots of friends in Australia, and a number of those came over as well, so it was wonderful.
Yeah.
In total, how many people did you have come to your wedding?
I think total guests, including us, there were about 90, I think. 90,
that sounds about right.
95, yeah.
I think that's a really good number to have at your wedding. Many more than that, and it would probably be a little bit overwhelming. But I think for
the size of the venue as well, it filled it up quite nicely. And
absolutely.
yeah.
Without feeling crowded. I mean, you could have got more people in there, definitely.
Crowded or empty, either way.
Yes.
Could have gone either way, but 90
But
was
it didn't.
spot on.
Yeah.
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 What would you suggest, or what would your advice be to couples watching the show in forms of their planning now? A couple of things that you would say to them. Think about this when you're now planning your wedding.
I think number one is get your venue as soon as you can. Get your venue and your celebrant.
And your photographer.
And your photographer, that's true.
You had a great photographer.
Yeah,
We were really pleased,
yeah.
actually.
Marie was just brilliant. Yeah, she made us feel really comfortable in front of the camera, which neither of us hate being photographed at all. So it was a little bit awkward to start, but yeah, she loosened us up. And having the photos beforehand as well, she'd gone out and scouted places, so we ended up doing photos down Wynyard Quarter. Yeah, and we've gotten some of those photos back now, and they're just amazing. Yeah, really, really cool. We had a lot of fun, I think, in the end as well.
We did. Yeah, she did a terrific job. So good photographer is really important.
So wedding number 4, is that going to be in Australia? I'd like an invite.
Vegas.
Oh, Vegas. I'll be there. I'll be there, baby.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nikki.